you see them from up here. The blues and greens are blending. My poor heartstrings are mending, and I am never coming down from here. There's no turning back now, that's myself I compromise. I'm running from the places where my dreams all go to die. Places I don't dwell on, filled with people I don't hear. Through open streams I fell on year after year after year. My, how different things appear when you see them from up here. The blues and greens are blending. My poor heartstrings are mending, and I am never coming down. I am never coming down, down, down. I am never coming down from here. Never coming with a crown of clouds and slippers of air, I'm not coming down, for I depend my different things appear when you see them from up here. The blues and greens are blending. My poor heartstrings are mending, and I am never coming down. I'm never coming down, down, down. Never coming down from here.
Meet me at the corner shop, bring the flip, I'll bring the flop. Hurry now and don't delay it. What's your name so I can say it? We'll head out to the fair, win all of the prizes there. Ferris wheel up to the moon and buy a helium balloon. Well, let's head into the night, go and soak up all the lights way up in a high-rise. See the world through my eyes, hey, so let's get out of here, hey. You wanna grab a beer somewhere in the city, hey, you sure are pretty. I'm not a one to slip and I blunder. Can you keep up? Awfully clumsy, covered in crumbs. And can you keep up? Just as sweet as arsenic, sugar to the point of 6. Or can you hand me that napkin I spilled on my lap again? Be quick on the uptake, you might get a cupcake. Run till we're too sore to walk and chase me down the boardwalk and cartwheel up the alley. Send me mail from Cali. Leave me on a jet plane, miss me till you're back again. Bring me something tiny and preferably shiny. Hey, so let's get out of here, sleep until the skies are clear. Wake me up with toffees and I'll make you coffee. I'm not a one to slip and I blunder. Can you keep up? Awfully clumsy, covered in crumbs. And can you keep up? Just as sweet as arsenic, sugar to the point of 6 a pound. Can you keep up? Up on the roof, down, down the stairwell. Left, right, oh, hello and farewell. Out of my mind in the car and parking. Yeah, yeah, we can play tag, puppy, quit your barking. donuts, tickle you and go nuts. Hey, so let's get out of here. Hey, so don't you worry, dear. We'll roll away like bikes do. Plus, my mama likes you. I'm not a wonder, spin our blunder. Can you keep up awfully clumsy, covered in crumbs? And can you keep up just as sweet as arsenic, sugary to the point of 6? So can you? Well, I'm not a wonder, slipping up under. Can you keep up awfully clumsy, covered in crumbs? And can you just as sweet as arsenic, sugary to the point of 6? So can you keep keep up.
Ah, this is so embarrassing. Oh, I haven't streamed. I haven't streamed. Uh, I mean, Faybot's been streaming, but me and V have not streamed for like half a year, maybe a whole year actually. Oh, so I, I don't know. Things are definitely a little bit different for today's stream. No Faybot. Oh, so it's just me and my. It's okay. So if you don't know what a system is, it might be a lot to explain, but we're plural. So there's uh, a lot of minds living in one body. So there's Faybot and there's T and there's V. We're just going by T and V, because that's what we're more comfortable with um, at the moment. And as the stream title says, it's actually our 3-year anniversary of sorts. We've been plural for a lot longer than that, at least 10 years or so. Probably longer than that even, but it was 3 years ago today that we really got our. I can swear we got our shit together, and we started really um, trying to cooperate and give each other space, and things have just been going a lot better since then. Um, I've got so much to talk about. I've got so much games to play. I have a few, just my some old favorite web games from Armor Games mostly that I want to go play. Let me switch over to the desktop view. um, so yeah, it's mostly T at the moment. So hello. I'm just gonna leave both of the fronting text at the top, because we're just gonna pop in and out, the both of us. That's how we usually roll. If you want to say anything to T or V, we're both hanging out. It doesn't really matter too much. Or it matters a lot. It might matter a whole lot actually, but I hope you're all doing all right. This is kind of my press conference stream. I'm here to talk about the big issues. Oh, I'm also transgender. I'm extremely trans. I've been trans for so long. It's like it slips my mind to even bring it up or talk about it, but it's cool. It's cool to use the Twitch tags for it. And I think it's fun to talk about. I'd love to be more more open with my journey and everything. Let's see. But at the same time, we could also just play some video games. Oh no, the video game isn't showing up. What's happening? Chronotron. There we go. I should center that a little better. Now, hopefully the game audio is not gonna blast anybody's ears back into the Stone Ages. Should be. Ah, ooh. I don't know how loud that is. I'm very trendy. Thank you, Blood Ramen. I shout out to all the trans trenders. They have my heart. My heart goes out to the trenders. I want to turn cursor off. We don't need to see that. Oh man, a bunch of my streams, VODs are expiring, and I've downloaded like almost all of the ones that I want to keep, onto YouTube, but they don't keep the chat, and I'm like, oh, that's actually criminal, because like I was rewatching them, and I don't get to see people's delightful comments. And on one hand, it was a little bit reassuring, because I was like, oh, hey, this actually kind of holds up. I don't mind just sitting here rewatching stuff with just my goofy, or Faebot's goofy commentary, dragging things along, but at the same time, I need people say some funny things. All of Blood Ramen's delightful insights get left behind, so I need to start putting chat on the screen. It's it's the modern day equivalent of putting your children's art up on the fridge. I need to start pinning chat to the stream so that you guys are as much on stage as I am up here. I think it's good for the culture for everyone to know that what you say is it's permanent. It's gonna be recorded forever, and that's just not the case right now. I should have specified audio warning. I knew this was coming. Danger. Please let me know if that was too loud. I think that's the loudest this game's gonna get. But just in case, let me know and I can adjust it. Danger. Your time pod has sustained heavy damage. Most circuits have been disabled. You're currently locked in loop mode. Luckily, you're landing in a time and place near one of your missing time circuits. Oh wow, that's way too loud on my end. Why does this game soundtrack? Wow, the rain just started pouring. Did one of you do that? Probably. Yeah, I could take credit for that. So this is just the tutorial. Oh god, I love this game. This was a great idea. I love the nostalgia stream. This game is so fucking goofy. You do whatever you want to do, and then you jump in your time machine, and you work with all of your past selves to beat the level. This is truly some system representation happening right here. Systems will know what's up with This is hashtag relatable content. When you're solving modern day issues using past selves, I mean, come on. My favorite thing is it's like you can make as many copies as you want. There's just literally no limit. So I'm gonna fill this place up with dancing robots. Woo! Yeah, forget about the Forget about the goal. This is what this game's goal really is. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because we were taking a short break, even Fabot didn't stream, nobody streamed at all last week. If we're the only channel you follow, you would have been really deprived of any content for the last, like, 8 or 9 days. And that's because we wanted to take care of some personal life stuff, but also a big reason is working on assets for future Fabot streams. Faye wants to have some more segments that require more art assets. Thankfully not too much. It's mostly just gonna be talking and sometimes reading stuff. So we've got most of that done already, or at least drafted. And the way I make stuff is, I usually just kind of go with the first draft as the final product, so it'll be ready to go like immediately. But I'm really excited about it. I've been having so much fun on Twitch. I haven't even been back for a full month yet. So we started on April 13th. And then we streamed, Fabot streamed for a few weeks. I'm really excited. Fabot's really excited to get back to it. One thing I'm really glad about doing the streaming this year is just finding out that it's still really fun for me, just as a small creator. A very small creator. I mean that in the fun way. That it's just fun to stream anyway. Like, I love just playing games and rambling. That's, and you gotta do what makes you happy in this life. There's no time to waste. It's just, if you want to try something, you should just try it. It gets easier with time. Oh my god, like, I remember Fabot's first stream on the 13th. Faye was so nervous for like every minute leading up to clicking the start stream button. It felt like it was gonna be like, it was just so unknown, like, oh, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna be okay? But then it's just unimaginably simple. I mean, especially if you, oh no, I think I messed up. Nope, we're okay. Okay, I was gonna say it's really simple. When you just get to turn on the stream and then wait for a little while. But a huge part of that is actually just setting things up in advance. Having a pre-stream thing set up, having a BRB screen, having music ready to go. It makes the whole experience like I want to say irrationally easier. I guess it's probably rational. Oh, whoops. That one just did nothing. But it makes it so much easier. It takes a lot of the pressure off because it feels less like you're gonna have to improvise everything to just know, like, you know, you can step away for a minute. You can step away for like 15, 30 minutes even if you want. Like, there's, like, you're not, you know, you're not breaking any rules if you need to take a breather. And it's so much easier to do that if you have a structure. Yes, Blood Ramen, a structure to operate within. Just a little bit of planning, just a little bit of work ahead of time. And but I mean, I say a little bit, but like I had tried streaming a little bit last year, early last year. And then I spent months just in the planning stage, just thinking about like what felt the most difficult, what can I change, what can I work on before I come back to Twitch that would make it feel easier for me. Here we are at the way station. And then after all the planning, incidentally, it was a really difficult period of my life at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, which this is something I decided I would feel comfortable talking about a little bit, but I won't go into too much detail. But I just was struggling with being homeless for several months. I didn't have anywhere to go, and I actually had to stay in a shelter, and I got bounced around to all sorts of places. And during that time, any moment that I wasn't working on getting my, like, really important shit together, anytime that I had actual downtime, I would spend on the laptop just chipping away at these projects, at the pre-stream animations, at the, oh no, I may have caused a paradox. At just all of the art stuff or whatever. Please go. I can't go until you go. Why is this robot just waiting here? She's probably monologuing about, like... Oh shoot, oh no. Okay, we made it. I could have set this down at any time. I could have put it over on the other platform if I was thinking. That's streamer brain. We're in for a good time, and also a long time. So I'm gonna be going real slow. Okay, I think I see what's happening. I wonder if I'll have enough time to make it. Looks good, alright. So I don't really have any point to that part of the story. I just wanted to talk about what it was like. And a big part of what it was like was that it was fun. It was, like actually, just during, like, what could have been, like, the way I, like, you know, like, the material things that I went through were very difficult. And if things didn't turn out okay, I would very much look back on that as like the catalyst for what would be like the worst part of my life so far. It was very stressful. I was losing hair. I had my first panic attack that I've never had before. Just like the literal experience. It was super scary. Oh my god. And at the same time, having this project to work on, having this like whole dream to hold on to, just the fantasy in my head of thinking, okay, like, yeah, everything sucks right now. Even if I wanted to stream at any given moment, I wouldn't be able to. I had no internet, I had no home, I had a laptop that I could at least draw on. So I was able to prepare, and I was able to dream about it. And, I wonder if this will be enough. And yeah, I don't know, just talking about my feelings with that. Did I cause a paradox? Or is she just standing there? We'll find out. So, you know, dreams are good. You know, never give up hope. Oh. It felt like a bit of a mundane dream. At the same time, like, it wasn't like, oh, I want to have hundreds of followers, I want to be famous. It was just, I want to get back to streaming. I want to have internet again. I had never experienced a part of my life where I just didn't have internet. Even my mobile like data was touch and go. I was like this close to lose not being able to check the internet, not being able to check my phone. Unimaginable in current year. Not being able to check Twitter. Oh, oof. Jeez. Not okay. It's not okay. It was scary. I'm extremely fortunate that it only took a few months to get back on my feet. Like I was thinking about like the timeline of events of like, you know, preparing myself mentally and emotionally just for the possibility of how long it could take before I would have stable housing, let alone internet, let alone yada yada yada. Oh no. So the bomb presses the final button down there. We're all coordinated now. It's hard to even realize how small your world is without any access to the internet until you actually lose it. Too true. Too true in both good and bad ways. You know, like it was also nice to get the reminder of experiencing the pace of the world without the I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like everyone's familiar with it. We all know it. We all have names for it, like the popcorn brain, instant gratification. You get to watch videos every day of on any topic, play any old game, watch any TV show if you know where to look. And for a couple months, I had to figure out the true small is not a derogatory word in this chat. Absolutely. We respect our small kings and queens and peasants. The gender neutral. The hierarchy. Oh my god, like, not to scare anybody, but like, just a little thought experiment of like, how to fill up your day without just losing it. If you don't have internet. And at the same time, I lost access to, there was a period where I didn't have my laptop or any of my instruments or any of my game stuff. Oh yeah, I just hear it through my window. It is definitely sleeting. And a little bit of good came out of that, like, I remember specifically making sure there were moments that I would spend just hanging out with nature, just trying to chill. Literally, like, I you know, I feel silly using the word meditate because before this time I'd never really practiced it. But I was really practicing meditating. Hold on, I gotta pull this maneuver off. Oh, by the way, I never mentioned, it said in the game, but the one with the green arrow on top is my current iteration of the robot. I think that might be easy to guess. I thought I would mention it makes the gameplay a lot easier to follow if you know which robot to be looking at. But they're all valid, you know. It's whatever. So anyway, yeah, filling up my day, picking like skills to practice for certain times, and just overall. Personally, I went through realizing how much I had taken the internet for granted. Like, oh my god, like, I don't know, I wasn't blaming myself and I wasn't being too hard on myself, but I was really just like kicking myself, thinking like, how many months did I spend with my computer, with a stable internet connection, thinking, gee, I would really like to be live streaming. I would love to get into it. I love playing games. I love meeting people. I love talking. Oh my god. That's the one thing I see with my Twitter is like, I think I would probably find more satisfaction from like doing a podcast or live streaming or making YouTube videos than what I've been doing for like, oh god, I don't know, like a decade. I'm going all over the place here. This is a ramble stream, baby. But anybody who knows me knows that I have a weird bad habit of writing really long social media posts. It started with Facebook and Tumblr, and then I deleted my Facebook because I'm based, and I'm still on Tumblr because I'm cringe. And then finally in the last like year or two, I finally got the hang of Twitter, where you have to string your rants into threads. And I'm really glad to be moving away from that, because as a platform, Twitter sucks. I'm not saying anything new, but Twitter sucks. It's designed for engagement, and like good or bad, the more people are commenting, the higher the engagement is. So even if it's just the same arguments being taken out of context and argued again and again with no moving the conversation forward, no oh, there's more to this level. It's just I don't know, I see myself as someone who's easily gets hooked on using social media, and I don't want to see myself going just slipping deeper into getting all of my I don't know, like the serotonin, the dopamine, or whatever. Oh, hello, Zephyr Together. Hiya, had no idea you're a system too. That's so cool, cute robot friends. Oh yeah, check these guys, check these gals, these little robots out. They have all sorts of genders. Yeah, hello. I'm a system. There's so much, I don't know where to start with it, but yeah. This is actually a funny stream to catch me on, because usually, it's actually my more robot headmate who's streaming. That's why the channel's called Fabiotics. So usually it's Fabot who's streaming, but today is actually our 3-year anniversary between me and V. I'm really messing around. I don't know what I'm doing with this level. I think I might need to restart. Oh, they give Vib Ribbon vibes. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Fabot's definitely friends with the Vib Ribbon. If I don't come up with a plan for this level, I'm just gonna keep adding robots. This is a metaphor for Twitter. Oh fuck. Okay, so if you do something that messes up one of your past robots and makes it so that they don't get back to the time machine, the little blue TARDIS, you get a paradox and you gotta start over, and I'm just gonna restart. I think I've pretty much reached the end of my thoughts on whatever I was rambling about, so I can actually just focus on the level for a second. Okay, so we gotta get a robot up there. But yeah, thanks for coming by, Zephyr. It's great to see y'all. Okay, so we get the robot up there, they press the button. And then we let the platforms move. Okay, this is gonna work great. I know what I'm doing now. So yeah, one thing I was saying is that, so for this stream, instead of Fabot, it's actually just T and V. We're kind of co-fronting. That's kind of how we usually are. We don't really, I don't know, we don't have a lot of like practice like saying like interacting with other people, let alone streaming, to like differentiate who's coming up with what, who's saying what. We pretty much just keep each other company. Oh, and hold on. Here's Fabot. We put Fabot. Oh. Since Fabot's not fronting and they're not hosting the stream today, we put Fabot in a little jar. Oh my god, I wonder if that's picking up on the microphone at all. It is. It's hailing like nobody's business. I love that. Oh, I love weather. I love when it does stuff. Contained. They are contained. I was a little bit nervous coming on stream. Jarred fairies, like Legend of Zelda, yes, but what about the pony jar? Blood Ramen, you know, I hope that I drew this art in reference to the pony jar. And then when I was done, I was like, oh, hey, this is kind of like the Legend of Zelda fairy in a jar. One definitely came before the other. And it was not the video game reference. Okay, I think we're ready to finish this level. Actually, okay. We have all the parts in play. Luckily, I played this game so much when I was little. So now I just get to go on autopilot for the most part to solve all of these, because, oh my god. These levels, I mean, it's a puzzle game, so it's like the creator wanted it to get more complicated as it goes. You know, you want that progression of difficulty, but it gets out of hand like immediately. Like, look at all these robots I have already. And they have to be so coordinated. You have to plan ahead, and like if you mess up, you have to start over from the beginning. It's a big pain. Oh my god, it's the hail is like threatening to crush me, crush the entire house. Jesus. It sounds like there's rocks being pelted at my window. Friggin' bonkers. I almost can't hear myself talk over it. It's audible! Whoa. God is trying to stop this stream. She knows. No, let me move a little bit closer to the window. Oh my god. Can you still hear me? Can you even hear me over that? Oh my god. Wow, I just need a second. Is the hail gonna chill out? Alright, so I love this. I love this, the pause circuit. This is a really, like, if you were a time travel nerd and you're playing a time travel game like this one, I don't know, this one just hits all the right spots of being like, it's just the one time travel gimmick. And I love that. I love just getting to create as many copies of myself as I need to beat the level. But then there's a pause button. So there's like this, the bomb over there goes off in just 5 seconds. You need to get up there and push the button. Can't do it fast enough. Oh, I love that this game uses Mario sound effects too. Oh my god. It's so funny. The jump and the pause is definitely just Super Mario World. That's so funny. And I forgot there's no time limit. Once you've paused time, you can see in the corner, even the level timer that like you're graded on gets paused. So you really just get to relax, make your way over, do whatever you want to do while time is frozen. And then, boop. And if that wasn't cool enough, it's what happens after you get back to the time machine that I think is extremely fun. Which is that if you watch the past robot who uses the time stop effect, you get to watch them just poof out of existence and teleport right to where you end up. Like you get to experience both sides of the like freezing time superpower mechanic. You get to fly, you get to jump around in frozen time, and then you get to see it how it looks to other people. That like you just teleported. That's cool as hell. Hail over the mic sounds so different than hail to me. It really sounds like a rusty, springy bounce pad. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that might be just some of the filters that like I have set on the microphone, so like only like certain muffled bits are getting through. It very much seems to have died down. I've never heard hail in this new apartment before. And it's like I can hear it coming from the window, but also like the entire roof. So it was just like, that's kind of why I was like really freaking out about it, because I was like, it was coming from everywhere. It was just this, my whole room was turned into this surround sound hail experience. It was nuts. Yeah, you can cheese this level. Oh no, I fell in a pit. Ah! Still visible? Yeah. There we go. Yeah, you can just jump right over that. Oh no. I can't get out with the last box, and I fell in the pit again. Alright, I'm just gonna do this regular. I think pretty much I'll just give myself plenty of time to drop all of the boxes in. That'll go really great. So I have a few games lined up. This is the first one I wanted to play. Nope. Gotta be more careful. I wonder if I can even do this. Yes, okay. It's possible at least. One thing I was gonna say is that I was nervous starting the stream today. Because when Faebot streams, Faye uses, like, Faye have a very filtered robot voice that I have really gotten accustomed to. And it's so comfortable streaming with a filter over your voice, especially if you're transgender, and I am very transgender. So it was such an exciting experience to have recorded streams that were using my voice, but that I could go back and listen to and not feel extremely dysphoric about. Which I think a lot of people can relate to. Like, even just without, like, dysphoria or anything. It's different from just talking to going and listening to yourself talk through a recording. It's embarrassing. It's cringy. But then if you sound like Gur from Invader Zim, there's no downside. 100 gecs was right about everything. We need to normalize having fun, silly voices. What do I do here? Oh, I see. We gotta switch it around. Oh, you're excited. Other headmates that use voice filters. Yes, yeah. I remember actually you mentioned that one of your other headmates uses a voice filter. I was so interested because I was like, didn't realize it. I was like, oh, it just sounds so natural. And that's obviously not the vibe that I go with for Fabot. Like you can tell it's a that there's a lot of filters going on. But it's perfect for Fabot. Like, I don't know if like species euphoria is like the sort of term for it. I messed up. I was busy monologuing. But to actually just get to sound like a funny little robot guy is super cool. I really recommend it for any robot any robot guys out there. Oh, I gotta get this timing right. Why did she wait so long? Wait, she didn't even pick up the thing. Okay, I gotta start over. You clipped a highlight of your cat. Oh, the cat through the filter. Oh, I wish I had a little pet running around to hear anything through the voice filters. It's such a fun experience. Have some that sound more natural and some that want to sound inhuman. Yes, yeah, exactly. Wait, let me start over. There's not... I'm really messed up by this game. Having a pause button down here that's not usable. It's just for the power-up mechanic, and I want to pause and just talk about stuff, but it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so we're gonna raise the platform, we're gonna jump, we collected the power-up. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the door. This game is wild. I really like this game. Here we go, check it out. I was hugely inspired by other plural VTubers. Because having the VTuber model, or in my case just the PingTuber, just the little floaty picture, is it's hugely, like, I don't even know the words for it, but I love it. Being able to because like the voice filter also helped, just anything to make it more implicit to strangers and to viewers and even to friends. It just helps because like it's, as I mentioned already, it's something that I struggle with between T and V, being like people can't just like tell who's fronting at any given moment, and I think of like solutions to that being like have it like I don't know, like ways to fix that, but like it's really it's sort of embarrassing. That's not even the right word. It's like, I guess I don't love when it feels like performative of like I want, where I think like, okay, it would be super great, it could be super lighthearted, it could even be funny if one of us, if we both talked using like different voices, but there's not really an easy way to start that. Um, to just be like even right now, it's like I could start using a different voice, but I feel so silly. I'd feel very silly, um, and I'd also be really scared of having somebody like who just doesn't know about systems, or someone who does, even worse, someone who does know about systems and has like kind of regressive or bigoted views towards it, and would just feel like, oh, that's so cringe, that's so embarrassing that you're doing like a different voice. And I don't know, saying all that out loud, it's like I don't want to perpetuate that idea at all, but it still scares me. So that's something that I'm trying to work on. Yeah, just a random thought of we could be VTubers one day. And it's so exciting to find out there's others out there like that. It is. Oh, it was like the best day of my Twitch viewing life when they added tags to everything. This is something I talk about with Blood Ramen pretty frequently. And it's how to actually like break out of your viewing habits. Coming from YouTube, it was like, oh my god, the algorithm is like all there is to YouTube. It's just the algorithm, and the algorithm promotes popular white male YouTubers. And it gets to a point where like even like if you're not being conscious about it, you're just watching a bunch of the same type of people, the same experiences, the same platforms, the same friend groups. But then even if you are conscious of it, it's an upward struggle to actually like find YouTubers who aren't being promoted and who don't have visibility already. Like it's such a, I don't know, I think a catch-22? I've never used that phrase, a catch-22 maybe. But then when Twitch added that, I was like, this is actually great. Like, I have no qualms with just clicking on the only show me LGBT streamers, only show me the marginalized groups, so that like I can just enjoy a live stream without someone throwing out some ableist, racist jokes. Like, it's not guaranteed, like, and there's, of course, there's intersections to it, and like, not everyone, it's not a guaranteed thing, but it's a better, it's a better way. Alright, let me catch up on chat. Oh no, being weird about the plural stuff. And those who are weird about it, bye. Like, we don't need this. Literally, I'm so like, did I catch all 22 of them though? Oh, it's, yeah, no, like, God, everything gets so fast and complicated, but the space that I have spent the most time in is being transgender and experiencing people who are cisgender and like don't get cool about it, and it's like, I'm really looking for the words for this, because I care so much about this topic, of what it feels like to slow yourself down and to like hold parts of yourself back because of like what the majority is willing to like meet you quote unquote halfway on, when it's like, and that's not even it, it's not even halfway. It's like if I spend all my whole life meeting cis people halfway, I'm never gonna just be myself, and I'm never gonna do the things that I want to do. I'm never gonna talk about all the things I'm passionate about. Like if I have to spend every day just trying to argue with people that like being non-binary is valid, or that even just being binary transgender, like the queer community is like on this like hyper fast track to inventing new terms, and I'm finding new people every day who are talking about this stuff in ways that I don't know. It's I sometimes have to like catch my breath with it all. And it's like, it's a special interest of mine to like, for years and years, like I'm a Tumblr citizen or whatever. I'm a Tumblrina. So I enjoy just hanging out in the discourse and just seeing people like, I don't know, I find not a ton of people have the same perspective on discourse where it's a positive thing. It's a potentially positive thing. Like it's so morally neutral to have a discussion and to have disagreements and to further the dialogue of things, of big topics, of big exciting things happening in small places all the time. And like you can jump into that like river or whatever and find yourself so far from where you started, but then you get out and you interact with a bunch of cis people, and it's just like, oh, like how, like what words do they even know? Like, why has my vocabulary changed so much? It's hard to communicate almost. And I'm so much more excited about the queer community. We're inventing all this stuff. Twitch is letting the content you absorb flourish. Yeah. Don't want to just block off people for being such, but it really feels like all the cool people we vibe with, well, are 99% of the time trans and are neurodivergent. Right, yeah. Tumblr user. Oh yeah, my Tumblr should be fine to share. I'm always a little bit like trying to stay safe with my personal identity and stuff, but my Tumblr is pretty good. I'm pretty proud of it. I've been curating it over the years. So my Tumblr is demonfuck.tumblr.com. It's safe for work. It's it just has fuck in the URL because I think that's great. It's a wholesome blog. It's just kind of rapid fire discourse and silly joke reblogs. Oh hooray! TV has a fun Tumblr. Thank you, Blood Ramen. all my headmates post there. It's very much just a culmination of our interests. Oh yeah, side blogs for each of your headmates. You love scrolling through each of those at times. Yeah, totally. I totally get that. It was a very good experience figuring out how to It felt like, I don't know, it just felt like good practice for giving each other space. A space that is their own to, like, if they want to, and I, and I'm being nice about this, I swear, but like, if somebody is gonna vent or have a really bad day and they're gonna post about it, like, it helps a lot to have our own spaces to do that in, so that it's not like, oh dang, V left like 20 posts on our Tumblr yesterday and now I'm gonna delete like 90% of them because I don't vibe with most of them. So literally I've found Tumblr's multiple blogging options to be really good for plural stuff. I wonder if that's part of why, I can't say this for certain, but I feel like Tumblr is a pretty good space for plural, for systems. I really like feature, an emergent feature of this game, which is that if you just want to pause, there's no way to pause, so you just stand around, and then the little timer in the corner will just tell me how long I've been just messing around, just chatting. Oh yeah, customizable. Yeah. No, it's very good place to curate your communities. But also definitely, yeah, the customizability. Oh my god. Shoutouts to Blood Ramen, who's really good at customizing blogs for me. And just how much better Tumblr is at it than, like, now that I think about it, every other site that's popular right now. Like what other site actually lets you do anything with the HTML anymore? Right, yeah, exactly. It's criminal. It's you can't overstate how actually, like, depressing it is to see the internet become this place where you can't where it's like, oh, everybody's here, everybody's using this site, but you don't get to do anything actually fun or creative on it. It's just where everybody is. Every other social media site is just avatar, banner, maybe a color if you're lucky. I assume that's supposed to say icky. The polar opposite of licky, if you ask me. Twitter is so corpo and homogenized, yeah, for real. Alright. I don't recognize this level right away. I'm not certain what to do with it. What was that? Oh, it's the Crusher. Oh, I thought I paused. There we go. Oh, if you're lucky. Ah, yeah. I kind of pieced together my own interpretation. I just read the word lucky, and then I thought you were just sending... I thought you were trying to say icky. You know what's going on. Alright, what is this? Why can't I unpause? The letter command isn't working. I press P and nothing happens. I just have to click. That's kind of what I thought would happen. I exploded! Remember, you're a time-traveling robot, not a magical ghost. Alright. Let's try that again. How do I get out of there the first time? Ah, okay, wait, I figured it out. Maybe? I just needed to keep the spikes up? Let's see. Facebook and Instagram are like, please use your real government name and a photo of your face as well. Oh. Oh. Man, yeah. No, it's terrible. I think it like provably makes the culture worse to just make people use their government names. Wah! You don't want to leave. It's comfy here. We're gonna visit our folks, so we should. But have fun. It was great hanging out. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, don't worry. I will be streaming more often. There'll be plenty more times to catch streams. I hope you have fun. Good luck seeing your folks. Oh, oh my god. How did I not get crushed? Dear god. Oh, and that's it. Wait, how did I beat that level? With only 2 robots. I thought that would take more. I'm actually wondering if I should take, like, a BRB. I'm feeling a little bit... I'm feeling like I need a snack or something. I'm gonna keep going. This game is a little bit long, actually. I have, like, 3 games lined up, but I don't know if I was planning on streaming for, like, a huge amount of time. I wanted to end the stream with the article that I wanted to read. But if I spend, like, all day playing these games, I'm gonna run out of voice way before I get to the article. We'll see. I'll think it over. I'll think it over. I'm gonna throw up a quick BRB screen. Decide what I'm gonna do next. Let's see. I have a... I loaded a... I'm in a different stream setup. And I loaded up, this one song from Candy Train. This is the only music I have preloaded for the BRB. So it's just gonna be this one 40-second song on loop. Yeah, enjoy. I might be back. It's hard to say. Thank you, Blood Ramen. I'm glad it sounds like a motion sick Yoshi. It does kind of have that, it does kind of sound like it has the extra Yoshi's drum motif. I should do that more intentionally in the future. I should have, whatever the drum is that Yoshi, I guess plays, right? That's what's implied. When you get on Yoshi and it adds a drum layer to it, that's Yoshi playing the drums. Absolutely. So, I think I'm definitely gonna move on from Chronotron. It feels too bad. It's the sound of his galloping hooves. Alright, alright. I believe that. So I'm gonna move on from Chronotron. It doesn't feel right. It's like why should I not beat this entire game in one sitting? But we're only halfway through it and it gets extremely convoluted the further you go. So I'm gonna make the smart decision and move on. Trying to judge. I really want you to still be here when I'm reading this article. I read it this morning and it was like shockingly relevant. Um, it was written 7 years ago. Oh wow, almost to the day. May 11th, 2015. Holy shit. It's actually pretty cool. I think it'd be really cool if we could talk about it, read it, and I'll have an easier time discussing it if you're still here. So I'm thinking I should try and just get to the article sooner than later. Because I don't know how long you would be able to hang out for. And I could just play my silly video games afterwards. Because if you have to dip out eventually, I would rather you miss me playing Shift 3 on Armor Games or New Sand, the sand physics particle game. I would rather read this article about trans femininity and the like horrors of the internet or whatever. Let me see here. Set up studio mode so that I can actually equals 3 on Shift Games. Oh, Shift. No, Shift 3. Shift 3 on Armor Games, you goof. It's part of the incredible series of games. I think I'm gonna change the stream title and category, because yeah, let's just read this article. My voice is already giving out a little bit, so like I'm not gonna put it off any longer. So I want to put in the title that we're reading a thing. I gotta put like some content warnings in the title as well. I'll just put the article title. Oh, content warnings for I think I'm just gonna put like trauma. Content warnings. Trauma. There's like discussion. like it's fairly tame. It's just an article discussing these things, but I still want to put in that there's just content warning trauma. I think it discusses rape and sexual assault. Just I'll just put abuse. Trauma and abuse, I think, should cover it. And then I could either go with the just chatting or the political stream for the category. I'm gonna go with just chatting because that feels a little bit less like I'm gonna get who knows who browses the politics category. Let me just double check my agenda real quick before we hop into it. Because I was like, yeah, I want to talk about plural stuff. I want to talk about trans stuff. I talked about Fabot's new segments. Oh, I wanted to. Okay, right before I get into the article, I guess this is for the VOD watchers, you know. Um, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about. I'd only been streaming for a couple weeks, my system, and it feels like relatively, excuse me, right away, people were saying you should have a Discord server. You should have we should have a Discord server so that your viewers can chat and you can build up a community, and as well, like I don't know, I get I watch other streams and like I see whenever like I'm chatting or whenever I follow, people will say like, here's the Discord server, no pressure, but if you want to join, if you want to hang out, you can come hang out. And I have like too much anxiety at the moment to even participate in other people's Discord servers. And it's there's a lot to think about with creating my own. Like both initial decisions and like long-term ongoing commitment, like community obligations. Like I absolutely do not want to just say create a Discord server and start inviting people to it and be like, yeah, here we go. It's a free for all. Come on, join in. And then have no plan for moderation, for rules even, like and I don't know, at the same time, it's like maybe I don't know. It might even be just misguided of me to not assume that I already kind of have that responsibility for my Twitch chat. It's not the same as a Discord, but it's still a communal space where people interact, and I don't know, and it's just something it's just got me thinking, like it's certainly not something that I put a ton of time into figuring out like the rules for my chat. I'm pretty sure I have a hard time finding them. But I'm pretty sure my rules are actually really good because it just says like to be nice, talk about politics, and then the third rule just says genderqueer. So I think that's a pretty good litmus test. If you agree to those terms, you're pretty much welcome to hang out. Yeah, I don't know. I really like thinking about the Discord server because whether or not I do go forward with it anytime soon, it's raising a lot of questions in my mind that I think are actually important to address regardless of making a server. Like, one huge thing that I've been struggling to find a good balance of is how to communicate the content warnings and like the maturity level of the stream. um I don't know, I think it's important for the streamer to figure out like what level of um mature content is able to be discussed, like to what degree. um because like I don't know, I mostly stream games with kind of a young audience, just because that's kind of what my taste in games is. Even still, like it's not like in my free time I don't play any different games. I don't like to play shooters or boring, grimy colored war games. I like to play Super Mario World. I like to play Chronotron. Um, and I don't want to be streaming in those categories and then saying, "Oh, by the way, if you're under the age of 18, you're not supposed to be here. The stream isn't for you." Um, cause like I don't know, like I want to make sure people are able, cause like I don't know. This is a huge topic. I shouldn't be just like spitballing it as I go, but like I still just want to be really open about like my thought processes. Because it's like I want to be able to have mature conversations. Um, or rather, I heard another streamer put it in a really good way, which is that they want to have wholesome conversations about mature topics. So like I want to be able to say, yes, we're allowed to talk about politics, and we're allowed to talk about sexuality and gender, and even adjacent topics to that, like just social justice issues. I want people to like not even just like what I like stuff that I want to be able to talk about. Um, and I don't know. I'm just trying to find that good balance of what people should expect from the stream, um, whether each stream is going to have topics that a viewer might be on, if a viewer might be uncomfortable with. I want them to be able to know that it's like both okay to express that discomfort, and it's also okay to just bounce, you know? I'm not gonna be offended. No one's, you know, I don't know. But like, I don't want to shift all of the responsibility onto the viewer to have to figure out if something's already gone like too far for what they're comfortable with. I want to make sure that I'm taking responsibility for what's being discussed both by me and just by chat in general. All right. I've been vamping about this for several minutes. And I haven't really gotten to anything new, but it's just been on my mind a lot. So I'm really glad to have talked about it. Like I don't know. I think it's important. I think it's important to do as much as you can. And like there's already, I don't know, it's laughable. It's laughable to say that there's already safeguards on Twitch that I have my stream set to mature content. So whenever a new viewer joins, Twitch will say, "Warning, this is a mature stream. You must click that you're okay with that before watching." But that's laughable. It's a one button click, and then everybody can just watch, like, and at least on top of that, when Fabot streams, there's the mature content rating that pops up in the corner every time Faye switches scenes. And I hope that that's a good measure to take, because I don't know, like, especially just because Fabot doesn't even talk about anything explicit, you know. We're so timid about even making like a joke or entering into any topic that's like actually like explicit, whether that's about violence or sex or any other topic that is a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult to navigate. But just because we don't talk about that stuff all the time, we don't want to give people the impression that we're never going to talk about it. And then somebody makes like a silly joke about like a kink or something, and people will, I don't know, it gets it starts to get into like kink at pride discourse, which I'm not gonna, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna pull the brakes here, because I'm not ready to go into discussions about all that where it's like I don't know. I'm too timid about it at the moment, but like I still bring it up because long term that's really, you know, if I were somebody who's creating a platform, which theoretically I am doing that, the kind of space that I want to create is one where people can talk about these kind of more difficult issues, things that are kind of more stigmatized, and marginalized, and that we're told like that, like, no, you can't talk about that in public. You can't even think about that. Like, and I really just want this to be a safe space for that kind of discussion. And the only way to make that happen is for me to start talking about it, I guess. So that's what I'm thinking about. Anyway, all right. I'm content with ending that thought there. That is fine by me. So okay, I'm gonna move Fabot out of the corner. Oh, Fabot will be back. Fabot will be back on Friday with Earthbound. For now, thank you for sticking around. I'm gonna read Hot Allostatic Load for as long as my voice can still handle it. Oh, that's why it's off center. I have the wrong one open. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I wanted to read this article. I'm just gonna try and read it out loud, I guess. I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about it. I was just like, you know, yeah, I want to read this on stream. It feels like a very, I don't know, I missed this. I never read it. It's 7 years old at this point. And I never read it, and it really resonated with me. Again, there's content warnings in the stream title. They very much do apply. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think I need to preface this very much. It's just an article written by a trans femme game developer designer who went through the experience of being a trans person in both public and private, and all of the um, traumas and pain that come with it. And it's written about in a really, I think, good way, a very necessary way. And I don't know anything about this person, um, or the situations that they're talking about. Um, I don't know how to pronounce their name or their pronouns. Like I think she her. I think she her actually. Um, but like I said, I just don't know anything about it except for the article, which I read over to make sure that it was like. I didn't want to be surprised, by whatever it is. I wanted to be able to put content warnings. Um, but yeah, hot allostatic load. Build the shittiest thing possible. Build out of trash because all I have is trash. Trash materials, trash bodies, trash brain syndrome. Build in the gaps between storms of chronic pain. Build inside the storms. Hi. I'm too sick to write this article. The act of writing about my injuries is like performing an interpretive dance after breaking nearly every bone in my body. When I sit down to edit this doc, my head starts aching like a capsule full of some corrosive fluid has dissolved and is leaking its contents. The mental haze builds until it becomes difficult to see the text, to form a thesis, to connect parts. They drop out onto the page in fragments. This is the difficulty of writing about brain damage. The last time I was in the New Inquiry, several years ago, I was being interviewed. I was visibly sick. I was in an abusive community that had destroyed my health with regular, sustained emotional abuse and neglect. Sleep deprived, unable to take care of myself, my body was tearing itself apart. I was suicidal from the abuse, and I had an infected jaw that needed treatment. Years later, I'm talking to my therapist. I told her, when you have PTSD, everything you make is about PTSD. After a few minutes, I slid down and curled up on the couch like the shed husk of a cicada. I go to therapy specifically because of the harassment and ostracism from within my field. This is about disposability from a trans feminine perspective through the lens of an artistic career. It's about being human trash. This is in defense of the hyper-marginalized among the marginalized, the Omelas kids, the marked for death, those who came looking for safety and found something worse than they'd ever experienced before. For years, queer trans feminist scenes have been processing an influx of trans femmes, often impoverished, disabled, and or from traumatic backgrounds. These scenes have been abusing them, using them as free labor, and sexually exploiting them. The leaders of these scenes exert undue influence over taste-making, jobs, finance, access to conferences, access to spaces. If someone resists, they're disappeared in the mundane, boring, horrible way that many trans people are susceptible to, through a trap door that can be activated at any time. Housing, community, reputation, gone. No one mourns them. No one asks questions. Everyone agrees that they must have been crazy and problematic, and that's why they're gone. I was one of these people. They controlled my housing and access to nearly every resource. I was sexually harassed, had my bathroom use monitored, my crumbling health ignored, or used as a tool of control. I was constantly yelled at. I was pressured to hurt other trans people, and punished severely when I refused. The cycle of trans kids being used up and then smeared is a systemic, institutionalized practice. It happens in the shelters, in the radical organizations, in the artistic scenes, everywhere they might have had a chance of gaining a foothold. It's like an abusive foster household that constantly kicks kids out, then uses their tears and anger at being raped and abused to justify why they had to be kicked out. Look at these problem kids. Look at these problematic kids. Trans femmes are especially vulnerable to abuse for the following reasons. A lot of us encounter concepts for the first time and have no idea what is normal or not. We have nowhere else to go. Abuse thrives on scarcity. And no one cares what happens to us. This foster cycle relies on amnesia. A lot of people who enter spaces for the first time don't know those spaces' history. They may not know that leaders regularly exploit and make sexual advances on new members, or that those members who resisted are no longer around. Spaces self-select for people who will play the game until the empathic people have been drained out, and the only ones who remain are those who have perfectly identified with the agendas and survival of the space, the pyramid scheme of believers who bring capital and victims to those on top. My first puberty was a nightmare. Faced with the opportunity to make my second one a healthy, healing experience, I was instead abused and broken. The community practiced compulsory BDSM sexuality, which was deeply inappropriate considering it was one of the only visible spaces for trans people interested in making games. I didn't need that coercion in my life. I needed safety and mentorship. I spent those years of my early 20s not making connections or gaining valuable socialization that I had missed in my youth, but being exploited and brainwashed in nightmarish isolation. I was scared away from the inclusive coding spaces, the inclusive conferences, and their orbiting alt events, and everything else that people like to pretend is available for trans femmes. Things escalated at the Allied Media Conference of 2013. Unfortunately, I was traveling alone. People from the abusive community overheard me asking about safe space resources in Oakland, and became angry that I was seeking to escape their community. I was intimidated in person by someone who had a great deal of social power over me. I had a panic attack and went to the bathroom to dry heave and cry. Shortly afterward, threatening messages began bombarding my Twitter and my phone, and the community began to develop a coordinated political response to my desire to leave. People suddenly stopped talking to me, and I felt the icy net of isolation drawing tight. This was the only time a conference responded appropriately. AMC apologized, notified their security team to check up on me, and encouraged me to submit a talk next year. I came back and ran a workshop with 2 friends for security, and a small amount of healing was possible. This reintegration was not made anywhere else. I was excluded from the vast majority of game spaces because of what happened to me. Of course, the multimedia nature of AMC meant it had the least stake in preserving the reputation of games and other things that matter more than people. When I got back home, I was kicked out of my housing. I later learned that the community had been contacting my landlord for months prior to the actual eviction, as well as spreading rumors throughout my field. These seed rumors are a common tactic in those spaces, cultivating a brittle structure around people that can be shattered when necessary. Living was my sole attempt at innocence. One of my abusers was sent a list of the nominees for the upcoming Games Festival Indiecade. Unfortunately, I was on the list. I ended up winning an award, ostensibly to recognize my feminine labor in the areas of marginalized game design. Years of creating access for other people, publicizing their games, giving technical support, not to mention the games I had designed myself. Instead of solidarity from the other marginalized people in my field, I was attacked. Anyone else getting that award would have been able to just get that award. But people like me aren't allowed to just have careers. Feminist culture saw fit to give a pass to every man and every cis woman who got that award, but when a trans femme from a disadvantaged background stepped up, she somehow happened to be the worst. The culture was fine with me, as long as I was window dressing, but daring to excel got me kneecapped. They spread rumors that I was sending harassing messages to people, even as the messages streamed one way toward me. They said I controlled a misogynistic mob and was using it to attack people. I had never been more alone. I was called a pedophile, a rapist, an abuser, the typical dog whistles used in feminist spaces to evoke the dangerous tranny stereotype invading your bathrooms. Even when the rumors were debunked, even with a history of cohabitating respectfully with partners and a history of being a respectful tenant, the damage was never repaired. The purpose was to keep firing until I was gone, until every possible bad thing had been said about me. The reputation game was used to paint a vulnerable, isolated trans girl, too scared to leave her room most days, as having power which she did not have, power which my abusers, veterans of queer and artistic scenes with decades of institutional privilege, did have. It happened without warning or recourse, without a single attempt at conciliation. Multiple times I'd noticed tension building and had asked explicitly for mediation. Each time this was refused. When you're exiling someone for petty political reasons, it works best when they can't tell their own story. By privately vocalizing concerns that I was being abused, I became a public target, presenting a false chronology to observers. Previously, their ostracism had been silent, made simple by the fact that no one cared about what happened to trans femmes who made games. The fact that my games had inadvertently made me visible meant that the attack had to be devastatingly public, my fake crimes commensurate to the amount of disgust required to repel me. This is the danger of the token system. It elevated me to a level of violent politics I was unprepared for. Very few people want to defend a target of disposability. I was told by one person that she couldn't risk losing her job, another that she didn't want to become a target too. I was threatened into not defending myself, gaslit into silence, told that people knew things about me that were never explained. When I asked how I could do accountability, when I said I would do whatever they wanted, they said that I was incapable of accountability, that my crime was unknown and my sentence was permanent. This is the point where the body starts to die. My attackers were expert, pathological liars who had been getting away with it for years. Entire fictional realities playing out on their social media accounts like soap opera. Escaping from abuse is the most certain way to become painted as an abuser, and being an abuser is the most sure way to be believed. You know how movies are realer than reality, how the sound effects and physics become so normalized to us that reality seems flat and fake. Talking about abuse is kind of like that. Abusers know what sounds real. They're like expert movie effect artists. Victims are stuck with boring, fake reality. Social media is significant to my story because for a long time, it was my only outlet. Sorry, one moment. I've been getting wrong number calls all day. Ah, jeez. Or, sorry, no, Blood Ramen was knocking at my door. The metaphorical door. Alright. Social media is significant to my story, because for a long time it was my only outlet as a disabled individual barred from many physical spaces, and a way to express myself artistically when traditional outlets were closed to me. However, it came with its own set of problems. When I told another trans person that I had been abused, I was told in response that my follower count on Twitter was higher than hers. I tried talking to people about my poor health, how I needed to withdraw and have space. After unfollowing most people related to games, a subject which was quickly becoming a trigger, I was told that I was manipulative. I was told that I was manipulative for unfollowing, and my following list on Twitter was scrutinized and brought up as evidence that I still followed certain games people, and that I was doing this to hurt people. I was pressured not to post about certain things that I cared about, crystals, slime, and not to use my favorite emoticons. I was pressured to join in social media smearings of other trans people, which I frequently rebelled against, to my detriment, and to retweet things I didn't want to retweet. My Twitter was incompatible with the rest of the network, because I mainly posted poetry-style tweets that had no connection to anything else. I would be accused of subtweeting or encoding hidden messages into my tweets. People would associate random words in my tweets with some random thing going on in their life that I surely must be commenting on. Social media became a scientific metric for my abusers, a set of numbers and behaviors to obsess over and divine hidden messages. The games network constantly upbraided against my non-participation, my desire for a safe, therapeutic online space, not a competitive one. Feminist practice of declaring privilege and marginalization became a way to collect information about victims. Look at someone's profile bar for their elemental weaknesses. Being frank about my health problems was never an advantage for me in feminist spaces, only something to be used against me. I was an object, an invalid on a bed that could be infinitely manipulated and extruded through social media to fit the agendas of 1,000 bored strangers. The ethereal potential of the net had become rigidly hierarchized and numbered to the point where I could be managed and controlled as efficiently as if it were a 3D space. Feminist/queer spaces are more willing to criticize people than abusive systems, because they want to reserve the right to use those systems for their own purposes. At least attacking people can be politically viable, especially in a token system, where you benefit directly by their absence, or where your status as a good feminist is dependent on constantly rooting out evil. When the bounty system calls for the ears of evil people, well, most people have a fucking ear. When I used to curate games, I was approached by people in that abusive community who pressured me not to cover a game by a trans woman. Their reasoning was blatant jealousy, disguised under the thin, nauseating film of pretext that covers nearly everything people say about trans people. When I rejected their reasoning and covered the game, the targeting ridicule of disposability turned toward me. What can we learn from this? Besides, lofty processes in queer feminist spaces are nearly always about some embarrassingly petty shit. It's about the ritual nature of disposability, which has nothing to do with deserving it. Disposability has to happen on a regular basis, like forest fires keeping nature in balance. So when people write all those apologist articles about call-out culture and other instruments of violence in feminism, I don't think they understand that the people who most deserve those things can usually shrug off the effects, and the normalization of that violence inevitably trickles down and affects the weak. It is predictable as water. Criminal justice applies punishment under the conceit of blind justice, but we see the results. Prisons are flooded with the most vulnerable, and the rich can buy their way out of any problem. In activist communities, these processes follow a similar pragmatism. Punishment is not something that happens to bad people. It happens to those who cannot stop it from happening. It is laundered pain, not a balancing of scales. If a man does something fucked up, all he has to do is apologize, if that, for feminists to re-embrace him. If a trans femme talks about something fucked up that happened to her, she is told to leave and never come back. Whew. Those last few paragraphs in particular, I really appreciate how ineffective prison and punishment and all of it is absolutely skewed towards punishing the poor and punishing people who can't stop the punishment from happening. Where, like, sometimes it's so easy to see as like when it's the case of like, oh, people talk about this all the time, that like if there's a $200 fine for breaking a certain rule, then that means that rule is only enforced for poor people. It just means that a rich person just doesn't even notice the money that they lose. They'll break the rule and pay the fee and be done with it. They don't get punished. They're not I'm blanking on the word, but they're, the thing that laws are supposedly supposed to do, to discourage people from doing bad things. It's just oh, it costs me $200 to do this bad thing. I can afford that. I'll do the bad thing, and then I'll pay the fine. Whereas if you're poor, the consequences can be severe, to say the least. All right. A common punishment for infanticide in the Middle Ages was living burial. All right, one moment actually. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure that infanticide, I think it's the word for essentially a miscarriage, or like just anything that involves not successfully bringing okay. I'm not certain what it means exactly. It might be once they're already born. Google had a result, but I don't know if that's the exact what it would have meant in the time period they're talking about. This was a feminine-coded punishment, often reserved for women, one that allowed execution without having to actually be there at the moment of death. This line of thought pervades feminine punishment to this day. One of the most common tools of exclusion is through mobbing, which is rarely talked about because unlike rape, murder, etc., It's not easy to pin it on a single person or scapegoat. Mobbing is emotional abuse practiced by a group of people, usually peers, over a period of time, through methods such as gaslighting, rumor mongering, and ostracism. It's most documented in workplace or academic environments, key points of capitalist tension, but is thoroughly institutionalized into feminist, queer, and radical spaces as well. Here's why it's horrible. 1. It has an unusually strong power to damage the victim's relationship to society, because it can't be written off as an outlier, as some singular monster. It reveals a fundamental truth about people that makes it difficult to trust ever again. People become like aliens, like a pack of animals that can turn on you as soon as some mysterious pheromone shift marks you for death. 2. The insidious nature of emotional abuse. How do you fight ostracism and rumors? They leave no bruises, they just starve you. 3. Mobbing typically occurs in places where the victim is trapped by some need or obligation. Work, school, circles of friends. This can prolong exposure to damaging extremes. For these reasons, PTSD is an almost inevitable outcome of any protracted mobbing case. Alright, 1 second. I'm getting a lot of dropped frames. It seems like every second I'm dropping a bunch of frames, which might not be an issue because I'm just reading this. And I noticed that usually the audio is alright. It's just the video that is dropping frames. If you could let me know, because sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it's also the audio will skip out over and over. If it's just the video, then I'm totally fine. It's not affecting audio? Okay, thank you. It's great to know. I'm opening my door anyway, just to see if having a less obstructed path from the laptop to the router might help. But if it doesn't, that's fine. In ideological spaces, this damage is exacerbated by the fact that the victims are often earnest people who take the ideals to heart and can't understand why the culture is going contrary to its own messages. They appease, self-incriminate, blame themselves, anything to be a good person. They don't want to fight. Fighting sickens them. From a report by the Australian House of Representatives Education and Employment Committee, 90% of people being bullied make the comment, "I just want it to stop." They don't want to go down a formal path, but just want the behavior to stop. Those who participate, even unwittingly, feel compelled to invest in the narrative of victims as monsters in order to protect their self-conception as a good person. Group violence creates group culpability. For their ego, they trade the career, health, community, and sometimes life of the victim. One lesson we can draw from the return of witch hunting is that this form of persecution is no longer bound to a specific historic time. It has taken a life of its own, so that the same mechanisms can be applied to different societies whenever there are people in them that have to be ostracized and dehumanized. Witchcraft accusations, in fact, are the ultimate mechanism of alienation and estrangement as they turn the accused, still primarily women, into monstrous beings dedicated to the destruction of their communities, therefore making them undeserving of any compassion and solidarity. The term witch hunt is thrown around a lot, but let's take a look at what it really means. Witch hunts, as discussed by Silvia Federici, were responses to shifts in capital accumulation, as is slavery. To jury-rig the perpetually self-destructing mechanism of capitalism, huge amounts of violence are required to obtain captive labor, femme and non-white. The effect is to devalue our labor as much as possible, and to destroy the bonds between marginalized people. You see this in games and tech spaces where the intense amounts of competition and capital accumulation, both physical and social, are a breeding ground for mobbing. But the popular two-sided discussion of mobbing, as carried out in numerous clickbait articles, ignores the fact that mobbing goes all the way down. Even as white cis women struggle for safety, they participate in the exclusion of others, creating a hierarchy of labor and competition. Because mobbing is a form of capitalist violence, the popular discussion, conducted by those who are intricately entwined with the flow of capital, must omit the nuances of mobbing in favor of a narrative that is about replacing uncool, regressive, masculine consumerism with liberal feminist consumerism. When the people who are scapegoated happen to be from the most disadvantaged backgrounds, the culture calls it coincidence, clutching our respectable counterparts to their chest like pearls, a talisman of tokens to ward away reality. I saw a queer black woman struggling to survive by her art, falsely accused of rape by a white queer. The call-out post was extremely vague and loaded with strong words designed to elicit vigilante justice. Immediately, hundreds of other white queers jumped on the bandwagon. Many of them likely didn't know either of the people involved. Accusations of sexual menace are a key weapon used against marginalized people in feminist spaces because it arouses people's disgust like no other act. The threat of black skin on innocent white, of trans bone structures on ethereal cis skeletons. It's as common for many of us as catcalling or any other form of ubiquitous harassment that cis feminists talk about, except no one wants to talk about it. It's a way for the dominant people in the group to take us aside and say, "You are not welcome here," or "Do this thing you don't want to do, or I'll ruin your life." But frequently it happens without any particular thesis, just as a general tool to keep us destabilized and vulnerable. Don't forget who you really are in the unspoken hierarchy. Mobbing uses these rumors to trade a vague suspicion for the actual reality of violence. It's like turning the corner and watching someone on the street having their teeth kicked in by a mob who assures you that just before you appeared, this person had committed some mysterious act which justifies limitless brutality. Alright, gonna take half a second, drink some water. It's important to take a pause. If anyone is, not comfortable taking in this much, this is just how I tend to consume articles, is I'll just read it all in one go. But it's there's no shame in pausing or stepping away for a minute, for a day. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, ironically, almost the overall topic of this entire article is about not it'll get to it and it'll say it better than I can rephrase, but suffice to say, you're not helping anybody by going past your limits. You never have to prioritize taking something else in over um, over your own emotional needs. Hello, Asteroid Z. How are you doing? This is T and V. Faybot's taking a little break for the week, and we're actually reading something that's very heavy. Take into account the content warnings in the stream title. This is an article from 2015, written by a trans femme game designer, just talking about her experience with the internet and with the communities that she was in. Yeah, oh jeez. Um, yes, damage. So, PTSD as disposability alchemy. I was, in effect, beaten until I had brain damage over a long period of time. Unlike some other survivors of trauma, I was unable to heal because I was never separated from the source of the danger. I was never given the chance to vent, to express myself, to tell my side of the story. But I had to keep working, harder than ever, while being constantly exposed to violence. The pressure on me was not merely to survive, but to display no signs of the incredible amounts of damage pouring into me daily. To never display the slightest hint of anger, to never cry, to not argue with people telling me horrible things. Every hint of damage was an excuse to further isolate and demonize me. The cost of resisting disposability was PTSD. It was catching a lethal amount of negative energy with my body and becoming a poison processing factory. My job is wired to give me electric shocks. What do you do when your alternative is homelessness? The allostatic load is the wear and tear on the body, which grows over time when the individual is exposed to repeated or chronic stress. Stress hormones, such as epinephrine and cortisol, in combination with other stress-mediating physiological agents, such as increased myocardial workout, decreased smooth muscle tone in the gastrointestinal tract, and increased coagulation effects, have protective and adaptive benefits in the short term, yet can accelerate pathophysiology when they are overproduced or mismanaged. This kind of stress can cause hypertension and lead to heart disease. Constant or even irregular exposure to these hormones can eventually induce illnesses and weaken the body's immune system. To cover up the abuse and protect the reputation of the games industry, it was deemed worthwhile to lower my lifespan, weaken my immune system, and permanently damage my body. Even if I drink multiple cups of water before bed, I wake up with severe dehydration. An interesting side effect of being a trans femme on hormones is that spironolactone, an anti-androgen, is a diuretic, so the dehydrating effects of stress are added to the dehydration of my gender, tipping it over to agonizing extremes, the unspoken tax of pursuing both gender and a career. The amount of water in my body is political. I wake up feeling burnt, damaged, corroded. I crawl up from an insane, nauseating, unreal pit and slowly come back to the world. I have constant headaches. By the end of the day, my neck and left arm are aching from nervous tics. I forget things rapidly. Triggers leave me exhausted or panicking at inconvenient times, sometimes for days or weeks. My hair fell out in handfuls. I still have a nervous tic of running my hands through my hair to pull out loose strands. Having PTSD is like breaking a limb and never being able to rely on it as strongly. the sudden weakness of standing on it wrong, suddenly being unable to hold something, a fatigue and spasm of nerves. It became difficult to diagnose other medical problems because of the all-consuming nature of the symptoms. It became difficult to talk about what happened to my body in general. When my hairdresser asked, the only way to explain the damage was by saying I had been in a car accident. Attacks on marginalized artists go beyond merely denying them access to networks. They also damage a person's faculties of expression. For a long time, PTSD deprived me of the privilege of being a multitemporal being. The space of time I was able to safely think about shrunk to about 1 minute. Larger projects, the kind most tied to commercial value and to the media coverage apparatus, were difficult for me due to the traumatic potential of expanding my aperture of time. The diversity-centric system expects more jobs to fix the problem, ignoring how long we've been damaged and made unfit for their jobs. They encourage the strong woman stereotype because it means taking the damage onto ourselves. We need more than jobs. We need social reintegration. Traumatic events destroy the sustaining bonds between individual and community. Those who have survived learn that their sense of self, of worth, of humanity depends upon feeling a connection to others. The solidarity of a group provides the strongest protection against terror and despair, and the strongest antidote to traumatic experience. Trauma isolates. The group recreates a sense of belonging. Trauma shames and stigmatizes. The group bears witness and affirms. Trauma degrades the victim. The group exalts her. Trauma dehumanizes the victim. The group restores her humanity. The worst thing is not having other survivors to commiserate with. I can think of people who went through similar situations and were defended, reintegrated. Their stories are paraded through feminist spaces, saturated through social media, and every time I'm exposed to them, I feel less safe, not more. This enhances my feelings of dehumanization. Why was I not worth protecting in the exact same situation? I must not be human like them. I often have the overwhelming physical sensation of having a dead person in my life, someone as close as an identical twin. The sensation is of me being the only one still alive after a terrible accident, lingering like an unshriven thing. The inability to share stigma is even worse than the original act of violation. The greater part of a wound is its inability to heal. Alright, we are about 3/4 of the way through this. I know it's a long article, but I think it's all very important, and it's all very good to talk about. And I'm not getting too exhausted. I think my voice will be able to hold out, so I'm going to try and get through to the end of it. Though it might take a little while still. I appreciate everyone for sticking around. The typical narrative of abuse on social media doesn't include the problems of the most vulnerable, like how public verbal harassment may only be an ultimately minor part of a trans femme's exile. The most skilled abusers know that a good exile is done with pure silence, through the whisper network, by having the person wake up one day and have every second or third person she knows, or who practices her profession, block her and or stop talking to her. No one tells her why. She has to painstakingly talk to every friend, every contact, every person she would normally have a cheerful conversation with. The electric shocks of knowing that every simple human interaction you have with a friend or stranger could turn into a nightmare of victim blaming or worse, a cold iciness where they pretend nothing is wrong. Imagine repeating that experience hundreds and hundreds of times with no way to end it. After the noise, the long years of silence are what kill us. The back channels that should be used to protect people from abusers and rapists are instead used to protect abusers and rapists. Any usefulness these channels have is reserved for real women. No one warned me about any of the comically large number of predators in my professions. I was considered unrapeable, unabusable, not worthy of protection. A trans femme can try to talk about her experiences of abuse for years and have no one listen. But the instant one of her abusers smears her, everyone is alert and awake. One reason it took me so long to talk about my experiences was that I associated being able to speak against abuse with being an abuser. Because every abuser throughout my life was so good at being believed, I thought that being believed was the exclusive domain of abusers. This is why my first months in therapy were spent convincing me that I wasn't a sociopath, crazy, abusive, or any of the other terms I'd been brainwashed with. Abusers don't spend years disabled by those thoughts because they don't care if they hurt other people. And when verbal harassment does occur, it's often cloaked in feminist language, making it impossible to fight. If they call a woman a bitch, people comprehend that as misogyny, but they call trans femmes things that are harder to respond to. Rapist, pedophile, male conditioning, etc. They call us things so bad that even denying them is destructive. Who wants to stand up in public and say they aren't those things? Who has the privilege to not get called those things in the first place? When I look at a cis woman these days, the first thing I think is, I bet no one ever casually called her a rapist. Trash art. When it was really bad, I wrote, build the shittiest thing possible. Build out of trash, because all I have is trash. Trash materials, trash bodies, trash brain syndrome. Build in the gaps between storms of chronic pain. Build inside the storms. Move a single inch and call it a victory. Mold my sexuality toward immobility. Lie here, leaking water from my eyes like a statue covered in melting frost. Zero affect. Build like moss grows. Build like crystals harden. Give up. Make your art the merest displacement of molecules at your slightest quiver. Don't build in spite of the body and fail on their terms. Build with the body. Immaculate is boring and impossible. Health-based aesthetic. Twine. Trash zines made of wadded up torn paper because we don't have the energy to do binding. Street recordings done from our bed where we lie immobilized. Laziness is not laziness. It's many things. Avoiding encountering one's own body. Avoiding triggers. Avoiding thinking about the future because it's proven to be unbearable. Slashing the Gordian knot isn't a sign of strength, it's a sign of exhaustion. Although I've fashioned this reflection in a manner that some may find legible, it is not a fair representation of my sickness. Writing these paragraphs has taken constant doses of medicine, fevered breaks, a few existential timeouts, and a complete neglect of my other responsibilities. when I tried in true form to write, in my realist moments of sickness, all that emerged were endless ellipses and countless semi-coherent revelations. With the trash scene, I tore up the pages because I didn't have the time or energy to bind them. I put them in Ziploc bags, trash binding. In this new form, they were resistant to the elements and could go interesting places. I hid one in Oakland under a bridge and posted coordinates online. Someone found it. When read, they come out of the bag like my thoughts, fragmented, random, non-linear. If dropped, they become part of the trash. There are no activist communities, only the desire for communities, or the convenient fiction of communities. A community is a material web that binds people together for better and for worse, in interdependence. If its members move away every couple years because the next place seems cooler, it's not a community. If it's easier to kick someone out than go through a difficult series of conversations with them, it is not a community. Among these societies that had real communities, exile was the most extreme sanction possible, tantamount to killing them. On many levels, losing the community and all the relationships it involved was the same as dying. Let's not kid ourselves. We don't have communities. People crave community so badly that it constitutes a kind of linguistic virus. Everything in this world apparently has a community attached to it, no matter how fragmented or varied the reality is. This feels like both wishful thinking in an extremely lonely world. Trans femmes often have a community-shaped wound a mile wide, and also the necessary lens to convert everything to profit. Queerness is a marketplace. Alt is a marketplace. Buy my feminist butt plugs. The dream of an imaginary community that allows total identification with one's role within it to an extent that rules out interiority or doubt, the fixity and clearness of an external image or cliché as opposed to ephemera of lived experience, a life as it looks from the outside. These idealized communities require disposability to maintain the illusion, violence and ostracism against the black, brown, trans, trash bodies that serve as safety valves for the inevitable anxiety and disillusionment of those who wish total identification. Feminism, queerness, takes a vague disposability and makes it a specific one. The vague ambient hate that I felt my whole life became intensely focused. The difference between being soaked in noxious, irritating gasoline and having someone throw a match at you. Oh wow. Normal hate means someone and their friends being shitty towards you. Radical hate places a moral dimension onto hate, requiring your exclusion from every possible space. A true social death. An entire industry of curation has sprung up to rigidly and sometimes violently police the hierarchy of who is allowed to express themselves as a trans or queer person. The LGBT and queer spheres find it upon themselves to create compilations of the best art by trans people, to define what a trans story is, and to omit the rest. Endless projects to curate, list, own, publish, control, but so few to offer support and mentorship. The stories that reflect poorly on alt culture are buried, in favor of utopianism that everyone aspires toward, but where few live. People feed desperately on this aspiration, creating the ever more elaborate, hollow structures of brittle chitin that comprise feminist queer culture. To find the things I wanted in queerness, I had to find those who had been exiled from it, those who the name had been torn from. There is nothing wrong with a politics of complaint, but there are several risks. Like developing a dependent relationship with the enemy, politically neutralizing oneself by dumping all of one's subversive energies into meaningless channels, or reifying one's powerlessness by identifying with it, because it makes one virtuous. Complaint becomes a form of subcultural capital, a way to morally purify oneself. Popular feminism encodes pain into its regular complaint-click cycle, keeping everyone on the rim of emotional survival, constant attack, constant strength, constant purity. Lacking true community, the energy spent is not restored. Those with more stability in their life can keep up the cycle of complaint, and those with lower amounts of energy are filtered out, creating culture that glorifies a strength not everyone can access. There's immense pressure on trans people to engage in this form of complaint if they want access to spaces, but we, with our higher rates of homelessness, joblessness, lifelessness, lovelessness, are the most fragile. We are the glass ferns of an already delicate genderscape. Purification is meaningless because anyone can perform these rituals, an effigy burnt in digital. And their inflexibility provides a space where abuse can thrive, a set of rules which abusers can hold over their victims. Deleuze wrote, "The problem is no longer getting people to express themselves, but providing little gaps of solitude and silence in which they might eventually find something to say." Repressive forces don't stop people from expressing themselves, but rather force them to express themselves. What a relief to have nothing to say, the right to say nothing, because only then is there a chance of framing the rare or ever rarer, the thing that might be worth saying. People talk about feminism and queerness the way you'd apologize for an abusive relationship. This isn't for the people who are benefiting from these spaces and have no reason to change. This is for the people who were exiled, the people essays aren't supposed to be written for. This is to say, you didn't deserve that. That even tens or hundreds or thousands of people can be wrong, and they often are, no matter how much our socially constructed brains take that as a message to lie down and die. That nothing is too bad, too ridiculous, too bizarre to be real when it comes to making marginalized people disappear. Ideology is a sick fetish. Resisting disposability. Let marginalized people be flawed. Let them fuck up like the real humans who get to fuck up all the time. Fight criminal justice thinking. Disposability runs on the innocence-guilt binary, another category that applies dynamically to certain bodies and not others. The mob trials used to run trans people out of communities are inherently abusive, favor predators, and must be rejected as a process unequivocally. There is no kind of justice that resembles hundreds of people ganging up on one person, or tangible lifelong damage being inflicted on someone for failing the rituals of purification that have no connection to real life. Pay attention when people disappear. Like drowning, it's frequently silent. They might be blackmailed, threatened, and/or in shock. Even if the victim doesn't want to fight, which is deeply understandable, often moving on is the only response. Private support is huge. This is the time to make sure the wound doesn't become infected, that the PTSD they acquire is as minimized as possible. This is the difference between a broken leg healing to the point where they can run again, or walking with a limp for the rest of their life. They've just been victim blamed by a huge number of people, and as a social organism, their body is telling them to die. They need social reintegration, messages of support, and space to heal. Be extremely critical about what people say about trans people, especially things said in vagueness. The rumor mill that keeps trans people out of spaces isn't even so much about people believing what is said, it's about people choosing the safest option, a staining that plays on the average person's risk aversion. Ask yourself if the same thing would be happening if they were white, cis, able-bodied. Radical inclusivity recognizes harm done in the name of God. Marginalized spaces can't form healthy community purely from rejection of the mainstream. There has to be an acknowledgement of how people have been hurt by feminist spaces and their models. A common enemy isn't the same as loving each other. Don't be part of spaces that place an ideal or community leader above people. Alright, I'm going to take one 1 minute break before I wrap this up. It's the very last few paragraphs. I won't be long. I just have to use the restroom. Alright. Thank you. I wish I could have gotten through it all just in one go, but alright. We're back. We're ready to finish the article. Sorry, one more drink of water. On January 18, 2015, I woke up from a dream. It was early morning, still dark. I felt very sad that the dream wasn't real. I wrote it down, like I've written down all of my dreams for the last 8 years. She was my abuser. She came to my house on the island. I begged her to stop what she had done, to clear my name. She would not. It had been 2 years of being abused like a child because of her. I turned to walk deeper into the house. I looked back. She had a knife. She stabbed me. It was the happiest dream of my life, because finally an abuser had done something to me that people would pay attention to. When I woke up, my entire spirit was crushed because I had not been stabbed. I felt the weight of all these years of abuse. I wished so badly I had been stabbed. I pulled the knife out. I wrestled the knife away. I called my friend to come over and help me. I walked along the beach of the island and saw for the first time how PTSD had numbed and corroded every perception I'd had since that August, this debilitating disease. I finally felt the brightness of the air in my lungs, the color of the sand in the waves. It was so beautiful. I just wanted to experience all the things that had been stolen from me. And that's the end of Hot Allostatic Load. Again, that was written by Porpentine in May of 2015. Oh. I hadn't, I realized I hadn't read the very last couple paragraphs when I read it the first time. So I was just experiencing the dream part of it at the same time for the first time, and it was a hugely oh my god, like just that feeling of wishing that the abuse could be tangible, like something that couldn't be gaslit, something that couldn't be erased, rewritten, something that you can't control the narrative of, like a physical wound. Blood Ramen, what a nightmare. What a beautiful article about a disgusting, all-consuming thing. Yeah, I I'm totally pretty much at a loss for words because that was just a whole an entire article using all of the words to describe something that is huge. Something that is huge and still so prominent. To have it put to words so clearly 7 years ago, and for it to still be like one of the most prominent like topics and issues and thing that continues to just be so incredibly relevant. I especially really liked what they said about communities. I think this may have just been a quote from someone else. Let me check. But just the idea that, like most of the time, communities, just the word. Let me find it. It was described as a linguistic virus, which I couldn't agree more. Like, that's being a queer kid and then becoming a queer teenager, like, I was familiar with the phrase, like the gay community and then the trans community or the LGBT community. And like it sounds like this thing that exists. Um, but then you really discover that it's just not what the word implies. It's not, the reality is so far removed from the idea that there is a community. And that's, I don't know, that's just something that kind of, I think lots of people, myself included, are failed by thinking that a community is something that you will find and then you'll be a part of, instead of um, something that you have to work to create and maintain, especially to maintain. That it's not enough to just call it a community and then call it a day. No, there's work to put in. There's difficult conversations to have if you want to properly support people. If you want to, you know, I guess also the phrase like a support network. I have a bit of difficulty with in multiple ways. I have a lot of difficulty imagining myself as someone who can provide support to others. I I I wonder if this is a more common experience than I tend to realize. That that we might get stuck in thinking I need support and I need help without ever practicing providing those things for other people. One thing for the entirety of this article that really hits me is that I'm not someone who's ever gone through exactly what she described, at least not the scale of it. I was never in like a big social spotlight with like multiple people spreading rumors and believing things about me. But growing up, I absolutely witnessed it. I witnessed vague rumors becoming quote unquote reality, becoming the truth, just because of the overwhelming numbers that hate mobs have on their side to accomplish a goal of ostracizing members of marginalized communities. And it really impacted me as a teen, seeing, because like you know, as a teen I had like as a young teen I had like some sense that there's morality and that there's right and wrong, and that if you do right then you're good and you're fine, you're in the clear. Just don't ever do wrong and you're totally in the clear, nothing bad will ever happen. But then then you see reality where good people get punished and bad people can get away with it, and you start to wonder, like, it creates extreme anxiety. It made me almost like permanently decide to um, totally reject being visible. Um, I totally wanted to avoid ever having too many eyes on me. I didn't want to have an audience. I didn't want to have any public presence. Oh my God, like looking back, like kind of connecting this to how isolated and scared of the internet I was, that like I was like, no, I'm not gonna take selfies. I'm not gonna post selfies. I'm not gonna use social media. Um, which eventually, in my late teen years, obviously, I got to a point where I started using social media a lot, but still in a very specific way that I think queer people are very familiar with, where you are hyper vigilant about not getting doxxed, about not getting. I think doxxed kind of covers it, you know. Um, and I don't know, it's just one word, doxed, but like um, it's not just the devastating life altering consequences of getting doxed that alters people's lives. I think it's the fear of it. I think it's the um I think it does. I think it succeeds at scaring a lot of people into not being themselves and not being social, into not sharing things that they create. And if you're not able to safely participate in a community, because they do exist, and if you're not able to even get like, you're too afraid to take any of the starting steps, um, it's terrible. It cuts you off from more opportunities than you could ever realize, because you don't notice that, like, oh, because I didn't post this selfie or I didn't post this art that I drew, you don't realize how many connections you're missing with any given opportunity like that. That's I mean, that's something I've been noticing with streaming, just for like the month that I have been, is every time I start a stream, I'm kind of coming at it with this expectation of, okay, there's a chance that I'm just gonna be by myself for the next few hours, playing games and talking to myself. Um, and then every stream, I'm surprised by the experience of somebody coming by, or even if nobody does, even just playing the game and having footage of it and just seeing what I learned from it. It's creating these opportunities that I'm like finally able to experience, realizing like how beneficial it is to actually put yourself out there and to actually try creating the things that you want to create. Um, because you can't, it's impossible to imagine the opportunities that it creates. Just every small thing, every small benefit is invaluable. It's impossible to measure the benefit that it does. So in the exact same way, it's impossible to measure the harm that it does. To be so afraid of these communities that you never put yourself out there, that you never exit the self-imposed isolation that I'm just all too familiar with. Alright. So, I don't know why I'm laughing, I just always totally turn around and I'm like, well, alright, that was an extremely serious stream. Blood Ramen knows what's up. You can't, um, you can't just turn off one set of emotions for another, for any given topic. Like, it's, it's all in there. We're dealing with, we're dealing with pain and ridiculousness and hope at the same time. Laughter goes hand in hand with shit like this, and it should. And it should, yeah. Yeah, I would. Like, what could be worse than discussing these things, coming to terms with these things, and then coming away from it and saying, therefore, we should all be sad. This world sucks. the the article title is a wordplay on hot load. I'm so clueless. I didn't even realize. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. Hot load. Alright. Well, thank you again. Oh, hello, Skilled Digital. You're here just in time for the hot load. I'm actually just about wrapping up. Probably just gonna end the stream in a second. Because I've been reading. I think for like an hour at this point. I've just been reading an article. So there's no way I can stream anymore. I had a couple more games that I was maybe gonna play, but I'll save them for another time. Still, thanks for stopping by, even if it's just at the end of it. Oh, the unimaginable pain of all the shit we deal with. The ability to talk about it with a sense of humor is invaluable. Thank goodness. That makes me feel like I have a purpose. That's definitely the energy I hope to bring to the table. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're able to stop by as well, Skull Digital. I'm gonna be streaming again later this week. Wonder if there's anybody I can raid. I don't think I'm gonna. Oh, I feel like it would be kind of an odd energy to bring to any other channel. I think it just makes sense to go ahead and end the stream. Vulo Lives is live. They're reading Garfield, actually. That's perfect. It's just us anyway. It's just me, Blood Ramen, and Skilled Digital. Let's go watch Vulo Lives, huh? They're reading Garfield. They're reading every comic of Garfield from the very beginning because the Crisp Thief. There's a lot of lore. If you don't already know, Vulo is a face borrower who's borrowing the face of a cat girl, and they love crisps. What's it called? Crispy, Munchie Crispies, something. And there's some mysterious crisp thief who's been stealing their crisps every time they buy any before they can pour themselves a bowl of delicious crisp cereal. And the crisp thief recently sent them a hostage message saying that they have their crisps, but they'll stop stealing their crisps if Vulo can read every Garfield strip on stream from the very beginning. So that's why they have to do it. There's a Garfield book called Wide Load. It's all connected. That's wonderful. Garfield loves a hot load. Let's go. I typed raid. Is it working? Is the raid happening, or do I have to end the stream for it to happen? I'm gonna check my dashboard. I never know if the chat version actually works. Just typing /raid doesn't really seem to be doing the trick. There's a Garfield book called Carfield. It's probably just a typo. It's called Garfield Takes His Licks. Ooh. Oh. Oh, there we go. I think it happened. I think I've raided.